We'll open the special meeting with the board clerk take attendance.
District 1, Barbara McQuinn.
Here.
District 2, Chuck Shaw.
Here.
District 3, Karen Brill. District 4, Erica Whitfield.
Here.
District 5, Frank Barbieri.
Here.
District 6, Marcia Andrews.
Here.
District 7, Deborah Robinson.
All right, we have a quorum with all 7 board members present. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Officer Sal Longo.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Officer Longo. Items added, we've added one item, a board item, amendment to the superintendent's contract. Good cause exists for adding this item, as there will not be another board meeting between now and the deadline in the superintendent's contract. Mr. Superintendent, do you have any items to withdraw?
No, sir, I have nothing to withdraw at this time.
Board members, we have 2 items that have been pulled, LB1 and P1. Any other items to be withdrawn? Seeing none, we need a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Ms. Brill, second by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? All in favor, all opposed. Motion carries 7-0. Any disclosures or abstentions? Seeing none, Mr. Superintendent, you have board comments? You have comments, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. I'd like to use my time this evening to say thank you and share some of the reasons why I'm so proud of the district staff, who I respectfully and affectionately refer to as Team Palm Beach. When Hurricane Dorian threatened Palm Beach County, hundreds of employees who I'm sure would have preferred to have been home with their families worked to keep our community safe. The district opened 9 schools as shelters. More than 2,700 people streamed in seeking shelter from the storm. Deputy Superintendent Keith Oswald, Chief Operating Officer Wanda Paul, and I beamed with pride as we toured the shelters. They were welcoming, clean, organized, and they served great meals. In fact, Allison Mambu and her team of food services served evacuees more than 12,000 meals over the days that we were in our shelters. And I want to send a special thank you out to Kathy Fry, our wonderful chef at district headquarters, for keeping us fed, even on the last day with steak and cake. Some employees received donated items at shelters. And this is very important. I think it was at Bethune, where we had 2 of our employees, Coach O'Brien from Bethune and teacher India Anderson, who took it upon themselves to find clothes and shoes and donated to people who came into those shelters on their own. I was very, very impressed, and I have to give them both a special shout out. I also like to thank Chief Frank Kitzero and his entire team, who ran an around-the-clock tactical operations center, overseeing all events in the field and addressing critical needs. My statement doesn't begin to share how organized we were, and it just made everything go so well, and it was humbling to see it in action. The communications department launched the Hurricane Dorian website, which listed several resources for assistance and continuous storm and shelter updates. The website had nearly 280,000 clicks in the 7 days that it was in operation. Maintenance, custodial, and facilities teams did an amazing job protecting, keeping our schools clean, fixing air conditioning, you name it. So again, this video will kind of demonstrate some of what we experienced during the hurricane.
In light of Hurricane Dorian, school days and events are changing, shifting, or being canceled in the wake of the storm.
The Palm Beach County School District is currently working with officials from the Emergency Operations Center. Plans have been made to open several of our schools as shelters should it become necessary.
Out here at Forest Hills High School, we are hearing from a lot of people that say, hey, they're taking this seriously.
Our entire police department will be out surveying the shelters. We'll also be working with the sheriff's office and local municipalities, because we'll have so many people on the ground just getting things ready. For all of the faculty and staff and volunteers at our shelters, they are making a sacrifice. They could be home with their families, but they're choosing to be here to take care of our community. So I say thank you. I think the larger community says thank you, and our kids say thank you. It's just a testament to how great the people of Palm Beach County, but more importantly, how great the people of the school district are, and their willingness to just put their own selves in harm's way and take care of our citizens.
How are you? It's Jenny. Nice
Jenny,
to
it's
meet
a pleasure. Charles and Donald, it's a pleasure to see you. I thank y'all so much.
you. Sure.
I just ask that everyone keep our kids safe. This is a good time for kids to be reading, because at some point we're going to get back to school and get back to our daily lives. Let's give everybody a round of applause. I'd also like to express another debt of gratitude. On this 18th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, I joined the nation in remembering those who died and honoring those who served as first responders. 38 first responders on 9/11 are current school district police officers. Let's share their story here.
Police operator 1886, what is your emergency?
I'm on the 106th floor of the World Trade Center. We just had an explosion on the 105th floor. We had smoke, and it's pretty bad.
Sit tight. Do not leave, okay? There's a fire or an explosion or something in the building. All right, I want you to stay where you are.
I can't believe it's that long ago that it's still, I can remember fresh in my mind how I'm still shocked what happened.
It feels like it happened yesterday.
I remember that morning. It was a Tuesday morning. Weather was sunny and bright, a really beautiful morning in New York City.
That day, perfectly clear. It actually came at 4 o'clock in the morning because I ran the elections duty that day in Staten Island.
That day I was scheduled to do a 6 in the afternoon to 2 in the morning with the Staten Island Task Force.
We were in the office getting ready to start our day when someone said a plane hit the World Trade Center.
So at that time, I took me and 5 other officers and we started going across the Staten Island ferry towards Manhattan. At that time, we heard a loud roar and we can hear and see the second plane come across the harbor and hit the second building. It was the quietest I've ever heard a ferry boat, and the officers were just all like in shock and all like, I can't believe this just happened. At that time, 15 years as a police officer, I knew this wasn't an accident. I said, this is more, so we gotta start paying attention here, and when we get off the boat, it would be time to get to serious work.
And then we got to the scene, and it was a lot of brave men and women who just self-deployed. You know, they went there and got right to work. No one was telling anybody what to do. Everybody was just doing what they thought they should do. Somebody said the building's coming down, so I'm like, I thought to myself, that could never be. The building, you know, those buildings aren't coming down. They're never coming down. And then I looked up, and you could see that famous picture of the smoke kind of billowing off the top as the building collapsed. That's when it kind of became a reality that I was now in danger, and grabbed as many people as I could. People were standing there in shock and just pushed them and pushed them and pushed them down. We probably ran about 2 blocks away before the top of the tower actually hit street level and just surrounded us in smoke.
Almost like a loud rumbling that you never heard before. I mean, I used to go to games at Shea Stadium, you hear the planes come over. This was like so loud, and it sounded like it never ended.
To me, it was like a freight train coming straight at us, and we didn't know what was in that cloud. You know, I mean, are we gonna die? Are we gonna stay alive?
Went to countless funerals after that, friends that I grew up with.
The police officers and the fire department, they did their best. I mean, we try to do what we can.
4 years ago, I got diagnosed with cancer from 9/11. It's a rare blood disease. I mean, people say to me, would you do it again, go down to 9/11, even you got cancer? I'm like, yeah, 100%. That was my job, and hopefully I saved somebody's life, and I would do it again.
You know, it made me appreciate life. Your life could end any day.
The thing we have to remember is that this is history for these kids. Any student that we have in our schools right now weren't alive the day that this happened. It kind of puts it in a weird perspective for me, is I never realized that I would be part of history. You know, you don't set out to be a part of history. You just have to keep reminding people of what this day was, what happened that day, and why we need to remember it.
As I said at the start of my comments, I am a very proud superintendent. Give him a round. I extend a heartfelt, let's give him a round of applause. You know, I extend a heartfelt thank you to our first responders. You know, as a child of a man who served in the U.S. military and having so many great people around us who serve our country in the capacity of protecting, thank you. And so at this time, I'd like to introduce someone who has grown to be my friend, Major Tony Mikowski, to the podium to say a few words, if you don't mind, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. 18 years ago yesterday, on September 10, 2001, 246 people went to sleep in preparation for their morning flight. Almost 3,000 people went to sleep in preparation for their work in the morning. 343 firefighters went to sleep in preparation for their morning shift. 60 police officers went to sleep in preparation for their morning tour of duty. 8 paramedics went to sleep in preparation for their morning shift. None of them saw past 10 a.m. on September 11, 2001. As you live and enjoy the breaths you take today, always remember that one single moment may never be the same. And tonight, before you go to sleep, in preparation for your day tomorrow, kiss the ones you love and hug them a little tighter. And always remember to never take 1 second of your life for granted. I think I speak for the men and women here behind me, the 38 first responders. Nothing could have prepared us for what we experienced on this day 18 years ago. But what we experienced that day has prepared us for our current duty to serve and protect the students and staff of the Palm Beach County School District. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Major. Philip? So we have many of our officers here of those 38. If any of you would like to come up to the podium, we're going to give you as much time as you'd like. If you'd like to come up and say anything, you're welcome to do that at this time.
Officer Carlos Rodriguez. I'm assigned to Heritage Elementary School, and I'm retired from the NYPD Manhattan South Homicide Unit. Thank you.
Officer Joe Lepore, working at Forest Park Elementary, going to Golden Grove soon. Worked at Housing Authority, New York, NYPD.
Jim Atanasio, assigned to Cypress Trails Elementary, and I worked with Sal Longo in the 120 precinct that day. Thank you.
Officer Robert Iacobelli, Equestrian Trail Elementary. I was NYPD, Narcotics, and the Gang Division.
Officer Joe Gale, at Whispering Pines Elementary School, retired sergeant from NYPD.
Officer Jack McCarthy, Indian Pines Elementary. I'm retired lieutenant from NYPD Narcotics.
Officer Alexander Lopez. I work at Okahili Middle School and 61st Precinct NYPD. Thank you.
Officer Sal Longo, last 5 years, Palm Beach Central High School, and I work here at headquarters. I worked at the 120 Precinct, NYPD.
Officer Scott Brisley, I work at Seminole Trails Elementary School. I was assigned to Nassau County Police Department K-9 unit on the day of September 11th.
Officer Hernan Ramos, assigned to Forest Hill High School. I was a sergeant in the Staten Island Task Force that day.
Lieutenant Jim Schneiderbeck, I training unit, and I was a detective in narcotics at that time.
Officer Anthony Espinosa, I work H.L. Johnson Elementary Schools, assigned to the Somerset County, New Jersey Sheriff's Department that day.
Major Mikowski, if you wouldn't mind, I would like for all the officers to come forward to take a picture with the board. Let's go.
Mr. Barbieri, we also have Eric Stern here, who was serving as an assistant principal and had quite a day on September 11th in Staten Island, I believe. So if he wants to also come up.
Mr. Chairman, I'm done with my comments, so when you get our board back, I'll allow that space.
Board comments, I'm sure some of you would have liked to have said something to the officers, but they all had to go back to work. So we'll start with Ms. McQuinn.
I know, I'm so disappointed, although I think they're out there and they could hear. I just want, anything I would have said pales in comparison. Obviously, we all still remember all these years ago. I can tell you exactly where I was in this building that day. To know that we have 38 police officers in our district who are first responders I'm just so very proud of what they have done, and so very grateful that they have joined our police department.
I also would like to echo those words. I remember September 11th very well, and I remember how scary it was, and the fact that we have 38 people who ran towards it and not away from it are real heroes here, and protecting our children. We're so lucky to have them. So I would like to say thank you, and I'm just so proud to have you working here at the School District of Palm Beach County. Thank you.
Ms. Brill.
Thank you. So I was going to make my comments about 9/11, and I promised myself that I wouldn't cry when I did it. So, of course, Dr. Fenoy made me cry and made all of us cry. So, for those of us, especially from New York, it's very hard to be from New York and not have lost friends. So it's a very poignant day for us. And I was going to end on a happy note with the officers here, just to say that it really made me feel good to hear all those New York accents. Oh my goodness, I felt like I was at home. So I just, again, want to echo the thanks. Thank you. And I'm so happy that these officers are here to work with our children. Thank you.
Dr. Robinson.
Mr. Barbieri?
Yes, Mrs. Andrews.
Yes, I do concur. We're so proud and thankful to have them here in Palm Beach County School District working with our children. And every day we're thankful for the service that they have given to our country.
Thank you, Mrs. Andrews. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. So I guess I'm like everybody else. I remember really clearly where I was. And I had walked to the waiting room to call a patient. This was at the VA, and saw this on the TV in the waiting room. But the thing I wanted to say is that I hope that our officers are monitoring their health very closely, because I got to the point that I would order various exams for my patients that were what I call 9/11 heroes, and would simply put that in the order, 9/11 hero. And just unfortunately, before I left the VA, I had diagnosed a number of them with conditions that I thought were related to their heroism. And so that would just be my request, that we remind them and they remind each other to pay close attention to their health. Thank you.
Mr. Shaw.
Every day that I see and talk with our police officers, I gain an even bigger respect for what they do and the commitment that they're making to this district. And to hear these stories and all of the things they went through and know that they are giving everything they have to the students in this district is something that I think I am extremely proud of and so appreciative of.
Thank you. And my comment, as a former police officer, I couldn't be more proud of the officers that serve our children. And Mr. Shaw and I think, have been to almost all of the swearing-in ceremonies for our new officers, and I'm proud to represent, both Mr. Shaw and I are proud to represent the board at those meetings and welcome the new officers in. Many of those that you saw today were the ones that we have welcomed in over the last year. So again, thank you to our police officers for making our schools safe and making our parents feel comfortable dropping their children off to us each day. As I told the police officers, they have probably the most important job in the district at this point, because if they weren't there, I don't think the kids would show up, the parents wouldn't bring their children to the school so that we wouldn't be able to educate them. So thank you all for what you do for us. We have agenda item speakers. Let me find the list. We have 2 podiums. I'm going to call 3 names at a time, so if you can be, the third one can be ready. Come up to the podium on each side of the boardroom here. Catherine Antunes, Constance Holmes, Veronica Boyd. The last speaker will be Virgilio Rodriguez. You can go ahead up to that podium right there. Just whatever order you're in, just say your name. That's fine.
Called me number 2.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, Dr. Fenoy, Mr. Barbieri, members of the board. My name is Constance Holmes, and I reside at 205 3rd Street in Jupiter. I started volunteering at Jupiter Elementary in 2010. Today, I'm filled with great sadness because the loss of Mrs. Trejo from Jupiter Elementary School was a great one. This is no reflection on Mrs. Daly, the current principal. Mrs. Trejo brought with her a skill set like no one else I had ever met at Jupiter Elementary. At a school where the majority of students are of Hispanic background, she could communicate directly with each and every student and family that attended that school. Communication. This is a tremendous skill, and I've never experienced it in the administrative team at Jupiter L for all the years I've been there. If anyone was going to get the parents involved in their child's education, it was Mrs. Trejo. With her similar cultural background, her love for the children and their families. She is bright, quick-witted, empathetic, and loving. She developed innovative programs and created academic coaching positions before she left that helped bring the school's rating up to a proud A. The school district allows me to provide a soccer program on Saturday mornings in the winter using the field at Jupiter Elementary. I'll always remember that Saturday morning, Mrs. Trejo took the time to visit our program and how the children's faces lit up as they came running over to her. How much more she would be doing for our community if that grievous district error had not been made. Let us go forward and strive for excellence. I know Mrs. Trejo will. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am. State your name for the record, please.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Catherine Antunes. I'm 19 years old. And I met Patricia Trejo at John Eilander High School. I was a senior when I met her. I'm going to say that that was one of the best things that ever happened to me when I was in high school. I came from a sexual abuse background, believing that women doesn't have a power, they don't have a voice. And it was really hard for me as a student to believe that in the United States I can find another home. I'm going to say this, schools is our house. That's our second home. Teachers are like a second parent, but the principal, they are like the grandpa. If there's something wrong with their parents, if there's something wrong with the teacher, the only one that have the right or more power to fix that issue is the principal. So I'm not here to talk just good about how good she is, because I wouldn't find no words to explain how good she is. But I'm here to talk about as a student. I'm here to represent all the students that has that fear to report any crime, to say someone is bullying me. Because that's what I found on Patricia Trejo. She's not only a mother, she's not only a friend, but she knows how to be a principal. I didn't have no idea of what she was going through. She was really professional. I shared with her a lot of things. She was my mentor for a year. And I'm going to say this, as a proof to you, the year that I met her, I became the senior of the year. Also, I became a full ride college student, not only passing my ACT with a high school, but also she helped me to start my own nonprofit organization. Named It's My Time. Why it's my time? Because I think that in order to make us change, it's our time to say it's my time. Nothing is going to change if we never stand up and say that's enough. It's my time to change something that I don't want. It's your time to make it that happen, because sometimes as a student, we don't have the power. Yes, we have the voice, and voice can change a lot of things. But at the end of the day, we know there's superior things, and you are that superior. So that's why I'm here to speak as a student and ask you to please let us have someone that not only care about us in school, but also outside school. Someone that we can say what's going on in our house. Someone that is not only worried about the homework, but also to know about the reason why are we not doing the homework. Someone that we can report any issue that's going on around school. And I'm going to tell you something. Yes, there are a lot of principals. Yes, there are thousands, millions of people. But you won't find a lot of people like Patricia Trejo. And if you need any proof, I'm here just to prove you. And I'm just, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am. State your name for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Veronica Boyd. Good afternoon, board members. I am a district employee. I have worked for Miss Patricia Trejo when she was both at Freedom Shores and at Jupiter Elementary. She was the first Hispanic female she was the first Hispanic female to serve as principal ever. I found her leadership to be exceptional. She was always caring, fair, honest, professional, ethical, and committed to all students. She is a true advocate for all students and has always helped families feel empowered. Her ability to communicate in Spanish was always an asset to the dual language programs she foresaw or she was over. It was nice to see that the students beam with excitement when they were able to communicate with them in their own native language. I am delighted that she is in a role that she can make more of a positive impact. I'm not sure if you're aware, but in May she was honored with the award of Wings of Inspiration award by the Florida Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents for her commitment and dedication to the success of students and families within the Latino community. This is no surprise to me. It's just simply sums up what type of a leader she is. She is hardworking, and she puts her heart into everything that she does. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Virgilio Rodriguez here? Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Virgilio Rodriguez Jr. I am a resident of West Palm Beach, a resident of this county. My address is 326 Fern Street. Dr. Fenoy, Mr. Barbieri, it's a pleasure to be here, and members of the board. Typically, I don't do this. It's difficult to do this, but I recall Stephen Covey and The Eighth Habit, and sometimes you have to have voice, sometimes on behalf of others. I'm here as a person who's dedicated 20 years of my own life to education. I'm new to Florida, new to West Palm Beach, but I've worked a lot in the talent space and in the education space. I know our country has a crisis in terms of the lack of credentials we have. I know this county also has many, many challenges because of lack of credentials. Here we have a person that is highly educated, highly experienced, over 20 years of commitment to education, who's here as one of your own. I'm here to support her because in my work I've seen her leadership, I've seen her capacity, and I've also reached out to her, and she was generous enough to send us a letter of support. I work for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Palm Beach County. I'm here as a resident, but we also have 9 proposals submitted to the Florida Department of Education. And among those are 4 proposals to serve 4 large high schools, totaling about 8,000 students. We're proposing to serve anywhere between 600 and 1,000. And I reached out to her because as we work with high schools, and we endeavor in that space. It's very challenging. There are resources that we want to make sure we're fighting for this district. We need people like her to be at the table. When I call my meetings, our meetings, to see if the schools would be on board, we met with each principal at the 4 high schools. As we think about the work we have ahead of us and the visioning, we need people with her background, her experience, and her training so that we're not, frankly, wasting the time of our principals. This is difficult work. At the Boys and Girls Clubs, we work really hard every day. We work sometimes 7 days a week. We spent countless hours writing proposals and telling the story. And it's people like Mrs. Patricia Trejo that really helps us make the difference. Speaking as a resident of this county, as I can't speak on behalf of the Boys and Girls Clubs, although we want to work with her moving forward, I'm asking that the board approve the settlement so that we can get on with our work. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, we have the items that have already been pulled. Is there any other items that the board would like to pull at this time? Seeing none, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Mr. Shaw, seconded by Dr. Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. First item under new business is BRD 2. Mrs. Rico, this, I'm sorry, that's the other one is the, before I get to that one, Mrs. Rico, I didn't pull the item that deals with board member travel for myself that we approved on consent. It was my understanding that I could vote on that without any conflict.
Yes, you can. We received an opinion on that. Thank you.
Okay, so board members, I will be attending the Council of Great City Schools at the request of the superintendent, who was supposed to be there with me, but has decided his schedule won't allow him to be there, so I'll be representing all of you in Kentucky, which I've never been there, but in Louisville, Kentucky, in the next month or so. So that brings us to item BRD 2. I recommend the board approve changing the date on this individual evaluation submission deadline for the superintendent to Wednesday, September 18, 2019, and authorize the board chair to execute an amendment to the superintendent's employment agreement memorializing this change for this year's evaluation only. Motion by Dr. Robinson, seconded by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. LD1 board members, this one comes to us without a recommendation from the superintendent. It was placed on the agenda without a recommendation, which is unusual for the superintendent to place an item on the, but he was required to present that to us by a court order. So it was pulled by Mr. Shaw. Mr. Shaw, do you want to discuss?
Thank you. I move that the board reject this offer and send it back to staff and general counsel for completion of the negotiations that were previously in process. And the reason for that is that the only reason it's here today is that a judge ordered that the superintendent had to put it back on the agenda, and this was right in the middle of a legal case that was pending.
Dr. Robinson. Motion by second by Dr. Robinson. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Yes, right here, Ms. Andrews.
Are you opposed or in favor?
Opposed.
She said opposed.
Okay. Motion carries 7-0.
No, did you get me?
Oh, Mrs. Andrews, Mr. Shaw made a motion to reject the settlement offer. Are you in favor of that motion?
Yes, I'm in favor of not reject. No, I'm not in favor of Mr. Shaw's recommendation. No.
Okay, so the motion carries 6-1 with
Yes.
Mrs. Andrews in opposition.
Yes.
That'll take us to P1, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board approve the personnel agenda as submitted.
Motion by Ms. Brill, seconded by Dr. Robinson. Any discussion? That was pulled by Mrs. Andrews. Go ahead, Mrs. Andrews.
Yes, I'm not going to support this recommendation. I have actually spoken to the superintendent. I given my questions, I think my answers weren't quite satisfactory to what I was looking for. So there are two positions that I'm not in favor of, so I'm not going to support P1.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed?
Right here.
Motion
Ms.
carries
Andrews.
6-1 with Mrs. Andrews in opposition. Any board members have anything else? We need a motion to adjourn this meeting. Motion by Mr. Shaw, seconded by Ms. Whitfield. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. At 5:05, we have a time-certain budget adoption meeting, so we'll reopen the meeting. We'll call the next meeting to order at 5:05.